Hey guys, my name is Spencer Coffman. Thank you for watching the Deception Tips videos. They're all about teaching you how to read people and detect deception so that you will be able to tell if someone is lying to you. Today we are going to talk about a little trick that you can use to kind of trip up a liar and to get them to reveal the truth and kind of to prove whether or not they are really lying. So this would typically be done after you have started to notice some different signs and patterns. Maybe you've seen a few clusters of behavior or some things that you may notice that, oh, they might be lying or that might not be true, or something where you're a little bit uncertain and you need a further confirmation. And now you could do this even if you're certain they're lying. You could just do this as like a double confirmation just to kind of reassure yourself that you were right or something like that, because it's a really kind of a neat trick and it's cool to watch happen when you ask somebody that. It's like a little experiment you can conduct and see the results happen right away, instantly. And it's kind of like a little psychological experiment or a test that you can do. So if that intrigues you, then this is one you'll definitely want to use and keep it in mind. So here it is, deception tip number 15. Liars rehearse the events of their story in order. To trip them up, ask them to tell it in reverse. Oftentimes, they will be unable to do so. So, as you know, things are rehearsed in order. This tip is for liars who have rehearsed a story or planned out their lie. It's not really for something that would be a spontaneous lie, such as if you get your haircut yesterday and then you go to someone today and they didn't know you got your haircut and you say, hey, do you like my haircut? And maybe it's like a really terrible haircut and they're like, oh yeah, it's great. That would be a spontaneous lie. You can't really say, hey, tell me that backwards, because that wasn't a sequence of events. This needs to be something that they're rehearsing, like yesterday I went to the grocery store, I bought eggs, I bought milk and peanut butter, and then I left. Something like that. And you could say, well, wait a minute, did you pay for the groceries? And they, oh yeah, I paid for them. And then if you could say, they could tell it in reverse, and then they'd be unable to do so. Oh, maybe you stole those groceries. Bad example, but you get the idea that it only will work when they have a sequence or a series of events. This has to be something that has played out in their head. It's a narrative. When they're telling a narrative, a story, then you can say, hey, tell it to me backwards, because people will be unable to do so. And now to prove this out, you've probably experienced this at some point in your life. Everybody in the English language who grows up with it, or even when they learn the English language, they know the ABCs. It's a typical song. We also know how to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, ABC, etc. It's a linear progression. Humans are very, very linear, and we like narratives. We like things to be in order and they just flow naturally. However, if you've ever had someone say, hey, say the ABCs backwards, most people just kind of say, well, Z, Y, X, W, and maybe that's where they get confused and they can't go any further. Because we rehearsed it in order. We rehearsed and memorized ABC. We didn't memorize Z, Y, X, etc. We memorized ABC, and it's that order. For example, also we learned how to count from when we were little in order, 1, 2, 3, up to 10, and then continuing. However, we didn't really learn how to count backwards until we started consciously doing it. Count backwards from 100. The first time you did that, you really had to think about it. Now that you're older, it's kind of a habit. You've memorized it. You've done it enough times that you could easily count back from 100. However, the ABCs backwards might still trip you up. This is because it hasn't been rehearsed backwards. You've only rehearsed it forwards. So liars, when they're telling a narrative, typically they are so worried and so stressed and under so much pressure and tension that they are only thinking about getting that story out. It didn't occur to them that, hey, well, maybe I need to rehearse it forwards, backwards, sideways, everything, so I have every little detail. And that is actually another tip when liars have too much detail, which we'll come to that later on, that it could be another sign of deception. So either way, they're in trouble, because no matter what they do. But if you can use this little tip to tell them or ask them to tell their story backwards, it may help you determine whether or not they are telling the truth. Now here's a little pointer. Liars will usually be unable to do so. So if you say, tell it to me backwards, they may struggle. They'll try, and they may get them out of order. But how much out of order and whether you think that's a proof for a lie is up to you to discern between the other signs that happen. However, if you ask someone to do this and they are telling the truth, they will most likely get irritated with you. Then they will probably state it in order, like summary, like bought the eggs, bought the milk, bought the peanut butter, went to the grocery store, okay? Are you happy? Something like that. They're going to be very irritated with it. They're going to be kind of insulted that you asked them to do such a stupid thing, but it's really not stupid. There's a reason for it. It's one of those pseudoscience things that they think it's fake science, but really there is a reason behind it, and it helps you determine whether or not someone is telling the truth. So use it as a part of your toolkit to tell whether or not someone is being deceptive and to kind of further prove whether or not you suspect someone of being deceptive. If this is your first time watching these videos, I would love to have you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Feel free to leave comments on them with any questions as well. In addition, if you'd like more information, we've got books, podcasts, and blog posts, articles, all available on spencercoffman.com that will teach you more about what everybody is really saying. Until next time.